Hey everybody, Pastor Tim here. Just getting ready to get started in our new study, How Does God See Me? This will be a good study on how exactly our Creator, the God of this universe, views each one of us individually. So I hope you guys are blessed by this, and let's get started. Hopefully you guys saw my Facebook post earlier. If not, go back and do that. The Facebook post was, if you were asked to describe yourself in 20 words or fewer, what would you say? And write your description down in either your journal or the comments or a notebook or whatever you have. It's important that we interact with this study so that we can all get the most out of it and share our ideas with each other. So I'm going to start by reading you a little story called Who is Worth It by Deb Bramer. Come enjoy our restaurant because you deserve it. Buy this rich, creamy hair product because you're worth it. Sincere compliments? Hardly. People who write these commercials have never met you. You could be an axe murderer for all they know. They realize, however, that you will more than likely buy their product if they can get you to link your self-worth to it. They don't say, buy our product because it is worth the money. They say, buy our product because you are worth the money. And so, many people buy. While you may want to set a limit on what to pay for shampoo, you probably place your self-worth beyond whatever price is being asked for this remarkable product. What sounded like a sincere compliment turns out to be a subtle exploitation. Christians often take a different slant on self-worth. They may say, you have great worth because Jesus gave his life to make you a child of God. You must be worth a lot. Sounds good until we remember that God also describes the person who doesn't know Jesus as desperately wicked in Jeremiah 17:9. All his righteousness, the good things he does, are like filthy rags, Isaiah 64:6. Christ did not die for us because we are worthy. He died for us because he is a loving God who doesn't want people to be separated from him. Picture this. A man sits down to paint with his paintbrush, a canvas, and oils. He loves to dabble in art. He spends many enthusiastic hours painting a scene. When he finishes, he proudly frames his work and gives it to a friend. A few years later, you come along and you buy the painting for $1 at a yard sale. You like the frame. Another artist sits down at a similar brush, canvas, and oils, and she paints a masterpiece that hangs in a museum. As an art lover, you come by and admire the painting. Do you say, what a nice frame? Or the oils and canvas have value because the skillful way the artist used them. Apart from the skill of the artist, they are worthless. In much the same way, the master artist picks up a palette and brush to paint a life. On his palette are spiritual gifts, differing temperaments, natural abilities, opportunities, and limitations. With great skill, he begins to paint. He has all he needs to paint a masterpiece. Our human willfulness causes flaws in the canvas and sometimes refuses to cooperate with his design. Yet he continues to paint and work with the canvas, covering imperfection by his great skill. Each of our lives is a canvas. We can waste years of our lives by trying to figure out the worth of our particular canvas. We can compare our own canvas to the canvases of others and wonder why the great artist chose to work one way on one canvas and another way on the other, and a different way on our canvas. Or we can forget about our worth and concentrate only on the work the artist is doing through us. After all, any of our greatness, our worth, comes as a gift from God. We are beautiful only as our lives show forth his skill. As we submit to his artistry, we begin to portray his design. As it emerges, we expect a picture of great majesty. Instead, we see one of lowliness, one where others are better than self. It is a picture of a servant, and it should come as no surprise, for the great artist is also the supreme servant. Like ordinary canvases and paint, we are worthless apart from the skill of the master. Yet if we cooperate with God's design under the master hand, we can be shaped into masterpieces. Small is the worth of the canvas, yet the worth of the artist is great. Let each work of God proclaim, look at my designer. He is worthy. So in the next few weeks, we are going to be learning to think about ourselves the way God thinks of us. To do this, we need to start at the very beginning. If you want to run and grab your Bibles real quick, I will wait. or pause the video. All right, hopefully you all have your Bibles. We're going to start in Genesis 1 at the very beginning, because the very beginning is a very good place to start. Genesis 1 starts, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. The darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. And God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light. And God saw the light, and it was good. And God caused there to be a separation between the light and between the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And God said, 'Let there be a vaulted dome in the midst of the waters, and let it cause separation between the waters.' So God made the vaulted dome, and he caused the separation between the waters which were under the vaulted dome, and between the waters which were over the vaulted dome. And it was so. And God called the vaulted dome heaven. And there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. And God said, 'Let the waters under the heaven be gathered in one place, and let the dry ground appear.' And it was so. And God called the dry ground earth, and he called the collection of the waters seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, 'Let the earth produce green plants that will bear seed, fruit trees bearing fruit in which there is seed, according to its kind, and on the earth.' And it was so. And the earth brought forth green plants bearing seed according to its kind, and the trees bearing fruit in which there was seed according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. And God said, 'Let there be lights in the vaulted dome of heaven to separate the day from the night, and let them be as signs for the appointed times for the days and years. And they shall be as lights in the vaulted dome of heaven to give light on the earth.' And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the smaller to rule the night, and the stars. And God placed them in the vaulted dome of heaven to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a fourth day. And God said, 'Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly over the earth across the face of the vaulted dome of heaven.' So God created the great sea creatures and every living creature that moves with the waters swarm according to their kind, and every bird with wings according to its kind. And God saw it was good. And God blessed them, saying, 'Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters with seas, and let the birds multiply in the earth.' And there was evening, and there was morning, a fifth day. And God said, 'Let us bring forth living creatures according to their kind, cattle and moving things and wild animals according to their kind.' And it was so. So God made wild animals according to their kind, and cattle according to their kind, and every creeping thing according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, 'Let us make humankind in our image according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of heaven, and over the cattle, and over the earth, and over every moving thing that moves upon the earth.' So God created humankind in his image, in the likeness of God he created them, male and female he created them. And God blessed them, and God said to them, 'Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and the birds of heaven, and over every animal that moves upon the earth.' And God said, 'Look, I am giving you every plant that bears seed, which is on the face of the whole earth, every kind of tree that bears fruit, they shall be yours as food, and every kind of animal, and the earth, and every bird in heaven, and everything that moves upon the earth, which there is life, I'm giving every green plant food.' And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made. Behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a sixth day." All right, so what we want to do first is get your notebooks out, and I have a couple questions for you. And I would like to discuss these questions with you, either with your parents or with me, or both. We would like to have this be as interactive as possible on our Facebook page. So you can also comment here on YouTube as well. The first question: skim Genesis chapter 1 and list 5 things God created. What are 5 things that God created? There's a whole list of things there. Just list out 5 of those. Question 2, how did God describe his creation? How did God describe his creation? He describes his creation in a very specific way in verses 4, 10, 12, 18, 21, and 25. Then, question 3. Read Genesis 2, 7, 21, and 22. Genesis chapter 2, verses 7, 21, and 22. How was the creation of Adam and Eve different from the way God created everything else? We need to look at how humans are different than whatever else he created. Question 4. How did God describe his creation after Adam and Eve were created? He describes his creation after Adam and Eve were created in a different way than he describes everything else that he created. And that can be found in verse 31. So if you guys want to take a moment and read those verses, answer those questions, and let's be interactive as possible on this, just by sharing a little bit of what you're learning, what you're reading, and maybe the answers to the questions that you have found. This is a learning moment for all of us, so hopefully we can all see how we are created, how we are loved by God, and for what purpose we are created. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.